I think I learned my lesson on going live that I have to make sure that all my history and cookies and stuff are cleared, because otherwise it doesn't. But I've done that.
And then this is streamed onto Facebook somehow? Like
on the members
live?
I'm currently setting it up. So you can basically, there's a little link in Zoom that says go live on Facebook, and then it takes you to Facebook, and I can set up that it goes through the members group.
Oh, cool.
Fancy, right?
Very. Very fancy.
I noticed we didn't get a lot of questions, eh?
No. I feel like everyone else got so many. It's like, God damn it, people.
That's okay. Yeah, they may just not know what to ask you.
That's true.
All right, what do we want the title to be?
My Mac is too old to use Zoom, so I have to use my phone every time we do class or use Kevin's computer, but he's using it right now.
To play poker?
No, actually, I would kick his ass off if that was the case, but he's doing his drill school online still.
Oh, are you guys on the same network too?
Yeah, but I think I'm on my phone's data. It always switches back because our internet is garbage here. Right now I'm on the Wi-Fi, but if it gets crappy, it'll boot to my data, whatever it's called, the 5G. Whatever.
Oh, it'll just do that automatically, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can, if you're good to go, I'm good to go. Feel good?
Yeah, sounds good. Yep.
Sweet. Going on. So this probably takes a second. We are almost done. I could always just. Show you what's happening here. All right, I think we are.
Oh, cool.
Good. So you see, something's happening there.
Something's happening.
All right. Good morning, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us to chat this morning. How you doing?
I am good. I have my coffee here and chat with you guys, so I'm good.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, my friend got this from Disney World for me.
What does it say? Morning bad, coffee good. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I agree.
Yeah.
My normal cat mug.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Not really a cat guy. I'm not sure why I use this mug. So, I'm super excited to chat this morning, and I think a number of these conversations have really been just me asking the questions that I want to know things about. So I'm definitely going to do that today.
Okay.
But for those people who are potentially listening that don't know who you are, do you want to give us a quick little background on? You can talk about where you come from, what your childhood was like, what you do now, anything you want. Cool.
So I grew up in Waterdown, Ontario, mostly. Kind of bounced around there in Burlington and Aurelia, Barrie area, all growing up. And a friend from high school that I went to school with, her and I wanted to go somewhere else for college or university. So we went and saw a bunch of places, and Algonquin was the one we liked the most. So we chose there. I went for pre-health in 2013, and then the plan was to do firefighting initially. My mom was a firefighter, thought that was super cool. So I applied for that, I got in, but I actually liked pre-health a lot. Thought paramedic was more my gig, so I applied for that and got into the program there and graduated in 2016 from the primary care paramedic program. And then I just stayed in Ottawa because I liked it here, met Kevin, was introduced to the gym, met all you cool people, and here I am, living in Ottawa as a paramedic in the city of Ottawa.
And you also, I think you may have skipped a quick little bit there, you actually moved away to be a paramedic for...
Yeah, I did actually, good point. Yes, my first job was in Simcoe County, which was awesome. I loved it there. So that was covering a huge graphic region, like Alliston to... was the Midland to Wasaga and Collingwood, Barrie, Innisfil, like all that area. So that's where I worked for the first 8 months when I first got out of college. And then our plan was always to come back to Ottawa eventually, just because full time, and Kevin wanted to get on fire here. So all of that worked out, and here we are.
obviously maybe a little off topic from the paramedic stuff, which we're going to get into a little bit more, but why did you decide to go away to work first?
If anyone's been to Waterdown, they know that it's a very small, secluded little town with nothing to do. So I was very excited to get the hell out of there and go do something else. So it was.
Well, why did you take your first job out of Ottawa though?
Oh, because it was the first one who gave me a job, and I didn't want to wait for like years for Ottawa. I applied to Ottawa that same year, and I forget where I didn't pass the test. I don't think. No, I didn't even get an invite because something weird happened. I don't know. I applied for so many services, they all blend together at this point. But either way, I didn't get into the first time. So Barrie accepted me, or Simcoe County did. So I went there for a while, flew by. Like, I lived with Deanne's parents. They made me a little room on the side of their house that Jeff D and Kevin all renovated for me in like 48 hours. So I lived with them for the 8 months, which was awesome. Deb and Dave were very nice to me and let me save enough to pay off my student loans pretty quick, because all I did there was work. Obviously, I didn't know anyone else except Deanne's brother Derek to hang out with, so it was good. Had a good setup there, and then yeah, that's why I went there. Obviously, just whoever would take me first is where I went.
Yeah, I think really just personally, I just wanted to make that point that, just because I'm not able to do exactly what I want to do right now doesn't mean that I shouldn't, maybe take this other opportunity that will likely lead back to this in the end anyways. And I just, when you did that, obviously we were sad to have you leave, but I was just like, that's the right move. That's a smart choice. Yeah. And you were back in 8 months, and now you're doing what you love here. And I think just a great point to make that, we can all probably learn from a little bit. So let's get back to kind of the main topic here. So you said that you originally were thinking pre-health, leading towards firefighting potentially. So as you started to kind of veer from the thought, or why did you get away from the thought of firefighting and towards paramedic?
It still hasn't even left my head, honestly. I still always think about it sometimes, about writing the test. I did write the test with Kevin last time. I don't know. They come up every 2 years for Ottawa. I've completely failed it whatever time I did do it. It's actually very hard test. But I don't know. I really liked the medical aspect of it. I was super into the anatomy and physiology classes and really enjoyed them. I knew I still wanted to be some sort of first responder. I knew police was definitely not my gig. Firefighting, it just kind of like seemed cool because we lived in such a small area where my mom was a firefighter when we lived there. So we'd always see her like ripping around on the fire trucks. And it was just like thought in my head, it was like, that's what I want to be as when I grow up. And it's still like kind of there just because the aspects of the job seem amazing as well. But I don't think I could ever leave my job now. I don't know if I would go to fire, I'd be part-time medic somewhere, but I really do enjoy being a paramedic, and I'm super happy with the choice I did make doing this.
And
if that answered your question, I kind of forget what you asked there initially.
What's that?
Did that answer your question? I kind of forget what you asked with that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then maybe let's broaden it a little bit too. So, let's put fire and paramedic and any of those first responder type roles in the same bucket. For me, and probably a lot of people, it's except for the, being able to work 7 days a month as a firefighter, most of us don't want to necessarily put ourselves in the type of situations that, first responders potentially end up in, dangerous situations or, emotionally traumatic situations or whatever. What leads you, so not specifically fire or paramedic, but what leads you into that first responder role? Why do you want to do that?
I think just like not having that typical job where you know what you're going to be doing every day. Like, yes, you kind of know what you're going to be doing every day with these two types of jobs, but you can see such crazy things every day, and then you can go for like a month without seeing anything. It's just like that unknown part of it, and kind of having the role of never knowing what you're walking into is kind of thrilling to me. I enjoy that. I don't know, a lot of people think it's insane for wanting to do that, but I don't know, it's kind of what brings everyone to this career is like, you see that burning building and yeah, sure, let's go try and save much people. Or like go into this grimy house and pick grandma off the floor and all of your PPE sweating your ass off. So I don't know. It's just fun. I enjoy not knowing what I'm going to be doing every day and seeing cool things and having a bunch of stories to tell.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes a special kind of person to want to jump into that burning building or get into that potentially dangerous situation. So on that, because you said it does change and there's always new challenges and new experiences. What if you could kind of distill it down, what does a typical shift look like? Like, what is it that you do for all of us lay people who are not first responders?
Yeah. So right now it's kind of different with this whole COVID thing. We get to work, we have to do our fry screening. So we take our temperature, we go on the computer and answer a bunch of questions if we have symptoms and whatnot, and then we'll go up, change in our uniform. And before this thing, we'd have a room that we'd all go to before the beginning of our shift. A batch start is called, just telling us any updates or news we need to know for the shift going forward. But that's all put online now, so we can abide by this social distancing stuff. And then we get into our truck. That's all posted on the TV when we get in there. So it says your name, who you're with, your truck number. You get your trip sheet for the day where you write all your calls down, and usually an overtime sheet because you are more than likely to do overtime. And then you go into your truck, and we've been like scrubbing the whole thing at the front and the back with this more so we have been. And then we check it all off. We have to do the truck book, just make sure everything's there, make sure the radios work and whatnot, make sure the truck actually works. Get out, book on with dispatch. They tell you where to go. If it's at a base or a call or a mobile post, which means just like a street corner, like Carling Woodruff or Montreal Shepherd or wherever that is. And then we have like little bases scattered throughout the city. Or you might be going for patient care relief. If a crew needs to go home at the hospital, you'd be going over to take over their patient. Usually that happens with us because I'm a 5 a.m. start. So people need to go home at that point and their offload delays are getting a bit bad again. And then you kind of just wait, and dispatch runs your day for the 12 hours you're there. So they'll give you the calls, they'll tell you where to go and whatnot. Yeah, you just make sure you're keeping in contact with them. If you are at a base, there's a huge buzzer that'll go on, and it's terribly loud that you cannot miss. That's when you know you get a call, and you go in the truck, go wherever it is, or it might just be a post reassignment and you go somewhere else, and then do that until the end of the day. And
so let's so many questions. Let's do this. What do you actually do? So what are the range of calls? What is it that you're doing? What are some of your favorite calls? What are some of the most scary calls? Give us a little bit of insight into the job. So not the sitting in the truck stuff, the actual paramedic. Yeah.
The scariest call, I heard you make a point about that, is definitely like whenever we hear a child or a birthing, like a birthing going well is fine, but like anything with the word complicated and birth or neonate or child under 10 years old is just terrifying for any paramedic to hear. So those ones are the ones we don't like going to. I think I can attest to most of the paramedics on that I work with that. The ones we normally do are definitely like in nursing homes or retirement homes, picking patients up off the floor that have unfortunately like sometimes been there for days. We did one the other day. She wasn't even in a retirement home. She was like 84 years old, practicing her dancing while she's self-isolating. And she was in her Crocs and she fell, and she was there for 2 days. And she finally got a hold of the phone to call us, and it was just so sad. So that kind of call was just like elderly patients, and then a lot of mental health and downtown core population, stuff like that. So it varies all the time. Like it's funny too with like the full moon. I worked on the last full moon one. It's true. Like I thought that was a whole hoax of like completely false, but it's true. Like the crazy people come out when the full moon's happening. Every time I've worked, it's insane shifts. So believe it, people. It's a thing.
So, I mean, now that you're kind of getting into that now, I mean, is it, and this is very on the spot, but are you able to tell us a story, something, an unusual call or something that sticks out in your mind that, most of us lay people don't experience?
There's just so many of that kind of call. Like downtown people just get very aggressive and violent if you don't abide to what they want to do. And sometimes they don't want anything to do with you. Some random person just called because they're laying in the middle of the street. So when you go get them, they don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
And it just is it's kind of like a funny call, but it's also like a very annoying call. And hopefully I'm with an ACP at that point, an advanced care paramedic. So I'm a primary care paramedic and I don't have the qualifications or the drug to sedate that person. So hopefully I'm with my partner at that time and they can quiet down and we can just transfer them silently. Yeah. This is what we more normally do, but I can't think of any story, honestly, the top of my head. I'm sure I could if I really thought about it, but there's just so many of crazy people just going nuts with us. So
yeah,
if I think of one, I'll bring it up for sure.
It definitely sounds like it keeps you on your toes and keeps you guessing.
Yeah, we definitely use that drug enough, if I have to say anything. Like it's a commonly used one.
Yeah. That's funny. So those are, you've talked about some really challenging calls and some potentially funny, adventurous ones. Are there certain things about the job or calls that you've been to that you are, that kind of make you proud or that reinforce the like, hey, like what I'm doing is the right thing?
Yeah, for sure. Like I always remember the one when I was a student, actually on my preceptorship. We were in Barhaven base, I think, and a call like went up just around the corner from us on the road. Someone like drove into a pole. And he was now VSA, we call it, so vital signs absent, cardiac arrest, his heart's not working, he's not breathing. So we get there, we do CPR and everything, and we actually got a pulse back and brought him to the hospital. And as far as I know, he's still alive. He was getting brain scans and all that stuff when we got there, but he was still breathing on his own and pulse was back. So those kind of ROSC situations, they're called, return of spontaneous circulations. Those ones are always obviously a proud moment. I haven't done a birthing call yet. I actually was at the hospital when this 2 male crew pulled up and I saw the baby come out as they were got to the hospital. It was really cool for them. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that for a while. So I did a few of those at the hospital during my clinicals, but I've not done that on the road. But definitely everyone who I've talked to who has, it's scary because you don't want anything to go wrong. But when it does happen, it's obviously a really proud moment for you guys in the back of the truck delivering a child.
Yeah. It definitely sounds like, because of what you're doing, you very likely see people at their best and probably at their worst.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you find, what is the emotional toll? What is the challenge on, yourself? I know that, PTSD and the support for paramedics, is something that has been controversial and whether there's enough support and all that, what are the challenges? What do you see among coworkers? How do you, at the end of the day, after a bunch of challenging calls, how do you, bring that back down? How do you compartmentalize? I know this is probably a deeper question, but what does that look like? What's your process?
Well, before all this happened, I'd like to just go to the gym and kind of get a workout in and forget about it. That's sort of changed. Like I still just come home and work out if I can. I talk to like Sarah or Kevin or someone who understands the job a bit more if I have problems with it, or my partner at the end of the day. If I'm having issues, like I'll bring it up with them, and you can kind of sense if someone's having a shitty day too. You bring it up with them to see if they're okay and check in with who you know. And there's a peer support group at the job as well. Just a bunch of people who kind of walk around, and you can call them at any point in the day and you'll be pulled off the road if you have to just take a hot second and chat with someone. But I haven't had to really what was that word you said? Compartmentalize too much. I haven't came home and just absolutely cried myself to sleep too much, I guess. I've been pretty lucky in that sense where I can kind of just leave it at work. Maybe Kevin would say otherwise. Sometimes night shifts definitely make it a lot worse when you're tired and come home, and after a long ass night of just silly calls, it's hard to be in a good mood. But it's kind of just having the support system of people who to talk to and who to go to, and learning to deal with it either on your own or getting help for those issues, I think.
Yeah, great answer. You mentioned, coming off a night shift, I'm assuming you probably, well, completely my guess, but would you get more maybe strange calls on a night shift? And that's really off topic from the question I wanted to ask, but just like, what are the unique challenges of working shifts? Not being able to maintain a nice consistent sleep schedule. How does that affect life? And I know it affects training, right? We've talked about that before, but
Yeah.
for most people who are working a 9 to 5 and everything's nice and consistent, how does shift work differ, and what are the challenges associated with that?
Well, I honestly have never worked a 9 to 5 job, so I'm not, I don't really know I can't compare it too well, because even when I worked like Health Canada with Mark, and it was still kind of shift work, and that was kind of the closest thing I had to a job after high school that was consistent like that, rather than like part-time fast food chain restaurants. But I honestly don't envy 9 to 5 jobs at all. I prefer my shift work. I think I have way more time off. I can't imagine just having like 2 days a week off of work. Right now, they just implemented this new schedule of, I've been on it for a while now, but the 4 on, 4 off, 5 on, 5 off. And I just love that. It's great to have that 5 days off in between. It feels like a mini vacation every time. So it's kind of a long shift on. You do like your 2 days, 2 nights. So you have that 24-hour break turnaround, but it's still a lot better in that sense. So I don't really have any advice for people who like have worked 9 to 5 jobs and are going to shift work, other than like, it takes a while to get used to. Like I remember being in Barrie trying to coordinate training with this new job, because this was my first time on nights, like actually working and on a like random schedule. It wasn't full-time by any means, but it was still a lot of shifts at once. And there was a lot of medics at this gym, and I just brought it up to them, being like, how the hell do you like live? I'm so canned after every shift, and I cannot work out nearly to the capacity I could beforehand. And they all kind of just told me it'll take a while to get used to, and you kind of figure out what ebbs and flows for you and what works for you and your bedtime routine and waking up and finding like all these little tricks that kind of go for you. So I have definitely found a routine for myself that helps a lot. And then just where did you go?
That's the perfect segue, because my next question was regarding work-life balance, and I think Mickey actually posted about this as well, about one tip or piece of advice you could give to someone trying to balance it all. And it doesn't need to be specific to someone working shift work, but I think there are unique challenges that you have faced because of working shift work that other people will be able to take bits of information from, because you work shifts. You have a partner in a house. You coach at the gym for the kids. You've got an active social life. And I mean, you exercise more than most people as well. How do you balance that, especially with a rotating shift? And do you have any tips that you've learned over the years that other people could take away just for balancing life?
I definitely use a calendar in my phone. It's like my golden ticket to planning my life. I used it a lot more before all this happened, when I had like 3 other jobs that I was going to, except this one. So right now I don't use it as much. But when I was like, just having it all set like a few weeks to a month ahead, and knowing like when I need to do what, and that's not even like jobs. It's just like cleaning the kitchen on Tuesday on my day off. And then even like I'd put walking Paisley in there, like having that all written down so I could see what my day looks like from start to finish every day was huge for me. I know a lot of people, like Kevin makes fun of me all the time for making lists and writing things down. I'm just like, to each their own, but like that just works for me. I'm a visual person. I like seeing it, and I like the action of checking it off after or erasing it out of my phone. So definitely like having all that stuff in there, and like even going to visit his parents for dinner, and like relationships in that sense, and just working on myself, even like practicing my French or doing whatever I like to, putting the gym in there, anything. Like doesn't have to be just work and like responsibilities that you need to do. It's just having all of that in front of me and going from there. And then I could like tweak as I needed to. But that was one huge thing I found that works for me definitely, is just like having that calendar and what I'm doing today, tomorrow, next week, or anything like that. Yeah. No, it's kind of an obvious one, but.
But It's so true. I think first of all, we should say that, Kev should probably start using lists because, he could be more. But a good point, and what we've kind of seen, especially over this time with COVID, and I'm not going to, name any names, but what I've seen is with uncertainty, right? When, we don't know what's happening, we don't know what's coming up, there's a lot more stress involved. So basically what you're saying is, take all that uncertainty and put it down on paper, plan it out, give yourself a plan. And then there's less of that anxiety about, oh shit, did I do all the things that I had to do? Because I know I did, because they're written down. And I know I'm going to get to that, and I know that it's going to happen, and it really takes away the anxiety. Would you say that's kind of how that works?
Yeah, totally. And one thing I'm bad at, though, is like over scheduling myself. Then I get super mad if I don't do anything. So I've like recently just been like, okay, just put like 2 things down you want to do today. As soon as you can finish those 2 things, add 1 more. If you finish those 2 things. I was terrible at like putting so many things in my day. I wouldn't even be able to finish that in a week if I wanted to, if I didn't even work that day. So it was just like, be a bit easier on yourself if you do take this task, if anyone's going to try this out afterwards, and just add in like 1 extra thing you don't do a day. And as soon as you do that, take it off, check, and it'll feel much better about yourself. Speaking from experience, where like had 8 things on there I wanted to do and didn't do any of them because I just felt overwhelmed and didn't even get to any of them.
Yeah.
So
I think that's actually common. And I think when you do that, you overdo it. I think just being unrealistic about what you can get done in a day will end up causing more anxiety and stress, because now you've got this huge list of things that you're not getting through. And it's like,
exactly.
So I think it's super important that, and I agree with you on that. And I think let's go here, because I know from talking to you personally that, you've been working a little bit on personal development and whatnot. And has that, have these realizations and these things that you've learned, such as, making a list that's manageable and making sure you can get through it, is that stuff that you've just come up with on your own through trial and error, or is that stuff that you've learned through this personal development process? And then if you want to just touch on why you're working on that kind of stuff, why you're learning French, why are you improving?
Yeah. A little bit of both. I think I was always a very like tedious person in school. Like to take notes of everything and make sure I didn't like miss a word the teacher said, because it's gonna be on test, and just got screwed with that a couple times. So just like, I've always liked to have a notepad and like, or on my phone, or just be organized in that sense. So it definitely was something I grew up getting it from someone, I don't know. And then a bit from definitely all this self-help stuff I've done as well. What's the word I'm thinking of? They like add to the fact, I guess. I don't know. Like they tell me I'm doing the right thing, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Confirmed.
Yeah. And then for learning the French, that was pretty much just because I hate not hearing what people are saying around me, and like half the service is French, and people can just be real assholes on calls sometimes and just completely leave you out of the conversation because they know you don't know the language. So that's the only reason I wanted to do it. And obviously because it helps being in Ottawa. I'm so mad at myself I didn't stick with it in high school. I was going to, but like I had no one to practice with, so I kind of just use it or lose it sort of thing. So that was the French thing. Definitely the self-help stuff reinforces, that's the word, reinforces. Making those lists and staying a bit organized. What was the last part of that question?
Just why kind of start down this personal development journey? What's the
yes.
what do you hope to get out of it?
I found like I was just like a very angry person sometimes, and just like I had a lot of emotion. Like I just had all these crazy things happening at once, and I don't know if it was because I just started shift work or like what was happening, but I was just like, I had no control over being an asshole to my sister or like Kevin or other people, and just like being grumpy or moody, and I kind of just kept blaming it on shift work. But I was like, okay, well, I need to fix this myself, or I'm just going to be the person that no one wants to be around kind of thing. So I just kind of got into these books and podcasts and whatever I get this stuff from. And I've actually been like really enjoying reading about this stuff. And it's super interesting about just how the brain works and why we are the way we are. And it's just kind of nice to work on yourself a little bit. And while at work, it's kind of nice to actually see that in other people too, because you can see our profession like brings out all that stress in people, especially like the older medics who aren't getting like a lot of sleep or a lot of stress at home and have like 5 kids and that are doing this job and not eating properly, like you can see that effects on people. And especially going to CrossFit too, like it brings like the best people in almost because we're all in that same mindset. So that's really helped me get where I want to be. And it's still a very long road, a never ending one, honestly, but that's kind of where that came from. And it's always a work in progress, as it will be for everyone, but I enjoy it. And it's definitely helped a lot too. So
weird. I can't even see you as being an angry person at all. Definitely not what I think
sometimes the rage comes out.
Right. Where do we want to go here? We're getting near the end. Good question. Let's do this. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be 5-10 years? Like, where is this all leading? Or is that something that you plan, or are you more of a take it day by day, see how it goes kind of thing?
I've like asked myself this question. I think we've talked about this too a few times, like the 5-10, whatever your plan. And I still don't have a solid answer for that. Like, I don't know if I would like to still be doing this job happily. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. I don't want to be like burnt out and hating my job. Like, I always want to be willing to go to work. I don't want it to have to be a chore, and it's always going to feel like that sometimes, but I still want to enjoy it at the end of the day. So that's why I'm still caught between, like, do I apply for fire again, or do I kind of go part-time with this? Mm-hmm. But then again, like, I don't really know what that goal would look like in 5-10 years from now. It's still a work in progress for sure, but I still just want to have like little mini goals to work towards, I guess. Like, I think you know this for sure. I like working towards something. Like, I like having that end goal, and like not having that for a while. Like, it was to get a house, and then we got a house, and then we got a job, and we got a dog kind of thing. So like crossing these things off, it's just like, okay, well, what's next kind of thing. And that's where I am at right now, I think. So
yeah. I don't know if I want to dig into that too much, but one thing that I just kind of came to mind when you said that is, and I may be very guilty of this, so feel free to give your insight on it. Oftentimes I'll get caught up in the, in striving for that next goal. And then once you get there, it's the next thing. And as you said, kind of it's what's next. And I think maybe personally, but I'm assuming there's probably other people out there like this, but with that almost becomes the only thing that's exciting, and the process itself kind of loses its joy. And once I get to that goal, it's kind of like, okay, well, now what? How do you see, making sure that the process itself makes you happy and that you enjoy it, and you're not just searching for that outcome?
That's definitely something that, like, Kevin's very good at that. It's just like a mellow, chill, enjoying like what the day is. Every day is a gift kind of thing. And I'm the one where it's like in overdrive constantly. Like, I need to be doing something. I'm never sitting on the couch. I'm always cleaning or doing something, because I feel like if I sit down for a second, I'm like wasting the day away, and there's no time for that at all. So I'm just terrible at that. And I don't enjoy like just chilling out sometimes and realizing like you've done a lot of hard work to get where you are. Just like have a hot second and enjoy it for 2 seconds. So that's definitely something that I do need to work on in that sense, 100%.
Well, I think if you're enjoying the things that you're doing, if you need to be busy, but you enjoy that, then that's perfect.
It's like the part of the book I'm listening to is the Audible, like the Atomic Habits by James Clear. He was talking about like the systems rather than the goals, and like you need to enjoy those systems for that to become the habit kind of thing. That's what just kind of reminded me of when you're asking that there. So I'm trying to like pick things that I do actually enjoy doing, rather than I think like that just need to be done, rather than like spring cleaning right now, for example. That needs to be done. Actually, I should do that.
Yeah, but that's the thing is finding a way to, enjoy that process, because it's really, another example, ideally every year we try to book a vacation, whether that's going to happen, the next year or not, I don't know. But we try to book that, and I always end up looking forward to it. And oftentimes, we still here? We're good. Oftentimes the time leading up to that, is exciting and whatever, but then after the trip or after whatever, there's kind of a letdown, right? So getting comfortable with, or trying to see the positive or seeing the joy in the regular everyday stuff. Tips on that?
On trying to enjoy like the regular everyday stuff?
Yeah.
Tips on that. I'm the one who needs tips on that.
I think we all do, right? I think it's you know, it's very easy to get caught up in the like, okay, well, I got to do these things today, and not be able to, you know, get excited about it, even though, you know, we should really, because we're living and we're doing things. And you know, if I dread some of my life, then I'm kind of wasting it, right?
Yeah.
That's the challenge for sure. Let's do this. Do you have any? I've got a couple kind of end questions. Did you have anything that you wanted to maybe just share with people, either about being a paramedic, about work-life balance, about you know, what it's like living with Kev, anything?
Pretty interesting right now, but
yeah,
a lot of time together. We're used to like just crossing paths every now and then having a couple days off together and then being gone away. But it's been good. Like, it's been nice to actually spend a lot more time with each other, because I feel like we haven't since we got this place, honestly, because he was a 9-to-5 for a while at Good Life there, and then I was all over the place with my work, and then going to the gym and the college and stuff. So life is pretty crazy right now, like how it's all just kind of came to a halt. And it's kind of nice to not be running around the city like 24/7 and just have my off days as actual off days now. So I'm trying to get into that rest zone a little bit more and use this time to my advantage and relax a little bit. But in terms of like tips for wanting to be like in shift work and stuff, if anyone does want to become a paramedic on this, let me know, because I have a million textbooks that I'm trying to get rid of. But other than that, it's just like having a good support system. Like, you guys have made such an impact on why I've stayed in Ottawa, honestly. Like, it's the reason why I'm in the city, to be honest, and like the reason why I tried so hard in school. And like, just having a good relationship with a lot of people is huge to me. And I think to everyone else, like, relationships are definitely like a key component to success, and bouncing ideas off each other, and just realizing like there's always room for improvement, but it's okay to take a step back and like look what you've already accomplished. But I try to like tell the kids all the time too, when they're like so eager to just make it to the CrossFit Games tomorrow. Yeah.
You touched on there, you know, that just the difference right now in terms of having to run around the city and all the, you know, the little things that are different right now. And I probably should be asking everybody this now that I've thought of it. Do you think there's anything, you know, you've seen the benefit of, you know, hey, we have all this time together, Kev, and, you know, things have slowed down a little bit and it's kind of nice. Do you think there's anything after this is over that you'll change in terms of, you know, your schedule, in terms of the way that you do things, to try to keep something that you found through this time?
I think like even just dedicating a day, even though you're with each other like all day, every day, dedicating a day to like an actual date night or something, and like making a nice meal with each other, and like getting out of your pajamas all day or sweats and like hanging out in the backyard, and like kind of making that time for just yourselves again, even though like you're with each other constantly. Like, I'm still going to work and stuff, and he's still doing his thing. So like we've kind of realized that helps, at least for my mental health. It kind of helps. He likes it too a lot. Like, just dedicating that one day of like, no, we're not just gonna chill here and like hang out with the two of us. I think we'll definitely keep that going forward. That's helped a lot, and it's kind of nice to have that in the calendar as well.
Yeah. I think that's a great tip, right? I mean, as much as some people are probably looking at this as, oh my God, I'm spending 24 hours a day with my significant other or my kids or whatever. Yeah. They have to look at it as, you know, like, it is nice to have this extra time together. And, you know, maybe after this, we're not going to aim to spend 24/7 together, because you know, maybe unrealistic. Well, but I think that's a great tip. You know, just plan it, set aside some time, because it's important, right? It's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and the regular stuff. And, you know, taking that time away to actually appreciate and enjoy each other, I think is huge. Cool. Let's do paramedic, shift workers. That was all I got. So if you don't have anything else, I just want to say, you've probably heard this just so many times and you want to tell me to shut the hell up. Thank you for what you do, outside of this time, during this time. As I always say, it's not a job that I would want to do, and it just makes me so thankful and grateful that there are people that want to do that job, and that they are people like you. So thank you very much for what you do. Thank you very much for sharing that with us today. There were, I think, probably, and I know we talked about this, I've been watching the live stream here, and I think there have been more people watching than any other episode. So
Oh, wow.
Very entertaining.
No problem. Hopefully I answered everything okay. And if anyone else has any questions, let me know.
It was perfect. Thank you very much, Georgia.
Okay.
Have yourself a wonderful Monday. Today Monday? Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, what day is it? Okay, thanks guys. Bye.